Hello and welcome to Unbounded Growth, a podcast that challenges you to grow and become a better version of yourself. My name is Mark Allen, and together with my friend Adam, we share thoughts and ideas from the books that we read and how they enhance our personal growth and development. We also host other readers and leaders. We learn from their experiences through our discussions. Our episodes air every Tuesday at 6 a.m. Central Standard Time. Thank you for listening in, and let's grow together. Unbounded Growth. Now,
Absolutely.
Which one do you want to go for? The fourth or the fifth one?
I think I can go for the fourth one because that goes directly with also something that I've been putting together. I think lately it's very recent to me, and that is achieve your goals. It's no cap.
And I think 4 and 5 go together because 5 is time management and 4 is achieve your goal. You just can't separate those two.
Achieve them, and he gives a very easy tip to achieving goals. He said, write them down.
Yep.
That thing works like magic. One of my coworkers, his name is Hossein, and shout out to Hossein. He helps me out a lot in the lab. And Hossein, we were having a conversation with Hossein, and I was telling him, like, man, like, my research is kind of getting stuck. I'm not really thinking a lot. And then I saw another one of our colleague, Shuai. I'm also going to say his name here because he does amazing things, and that's why. And I look at how Shuai does things. Shuai has mind maps. He writes every single little detail down. And every time we have a presentation, Shuai has results to show. He might have his struggles, might be struggling with things, he will ask for help and all of that. But Shuai has
Always something to bring to the table.
Shuai got 2 fellowships. And I got inspired by Shuai's work. And something that I started off the last couple of weeks and after also studying this book again is that write those goals down. Now I have a checklist. Okay, if I'm going to order things, they're written down somewhere. That I'm going to order 1, 2, 3. At the end of the summer, this is, even when I get my, the student that I manage, I tell them what is our expectation at the end of this summer, that we write down that by the end of this summer, we're going to publish this paper, we're going to get this thing done, And to me, at least for the past 2 weeks, it's kind of working like magic because now I know exactly what I want to see, what I want to do, what I want to achieve, and where that's going to go. And it's written down. So now I have a mind map of what I want to do. And that's amazing to me.
You know, Zig Ziglar used to give this example. He said, can you hit a target blindfolded? You can. You have a chance in a million to do it, but you still can. But can you hit a target that you don't have? You have 0 chance in a gazillion years to hit a target that you don't have. And that's the reality about goals. When you don't have goals, it's like you aiming for nothing. Or you aiming at nothing. You're trying to shoot, but you don't have a target that you're trying to achieve. And Mr. Davis, of course, the character in the book says that 2 things that you achieve by writing your goals down. The first one is that you have goals. That's to start with. But the second one, it kind of brings them to reality. In another book that we review in the future, Brian Tracy talks about this idea that I've been trying to practice. And every time I practice that, it kind of brings my goals to life. Like he says, you know, when all of us have our year's resolution, and some of them pretty much a year's confession. I confess that I gotta lose weight. I confess that I have to do this. But in reality, it's not really, you haven't really resolved to do it. That's why 2 weeks later, after January 1st, we all give up on our goals and our membership, our gym memberships and all that. He said, write your goals every morning. If you have goals for this year, every morning, just write your goals down again. Look at the paper. I don't care if you're copying them or something like that. It makes you realize, and on top, before you start writing your goals, write the date. Like today is June 4th, or it's June 7th, or it's June 10th. Write a date and then write your goals. It brings you back to reality. Okay, I said that I was going to accomplish 10 things this year. How am I doing with these 10 things? And the other tips that one of these authors, Jim Rohn, talks about is that never start your day before you end it. The idea is never start a day that you haven't planned out.
Mm-hmm.
There's no building in the world. Unless you, even in Congo, there's no building in the world that has been built without a blueprint.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the way you set up a blueprint of your day is by writing down your goals. You wake up in the morning and you wonder, what are the 5 or 10 things that I need to accomplish? And once you write those down, every time you accomplish something, cross it out of your list. And it does something to you psychologically. The feeling that comes out of that is just like...
And I think he mentioned it in the book. He said that we don't achieve goals for goals, but we achieve those goals for who we become while doing it.
Right.
That is one thing that is so important in here. The process that we go through while achieving that goal.
Right.
That's what is important. Who we become while achieving those goals. And that is priceless. When you get something, for any researcher who can be hearing me right now, we know that research doesn't work 97% of time. But those 3%, when it does, and you've achieved something, that's how you get a Nobel Prize. That's how everything that you see that is huge happen.
Right.
And it's priceless, the feeling of achievement of a goal.
Exactly. And that goals are so much tied into the 5th pillar, which is time management. Here's the thing. If you set up goals and you don't achieve them, and that's one of the reasons why people don't set goals, is that they're afraid that if they don't achieve them, then you start beating yourself down and you start feeling bad about yourself. But the only way to achieve your goal is to use the tool that all of us have, time. How you manage your time has a great impact in your life. A great quote that he talks about, Mr. Davis, which is the character that's being used in this book. He said, we must all suffer from one of 2 pains. The pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is that discipline weighs ounces while regret weighs tons. Very important words are those. It's very crucial to understand that when you don't have enough discipline to manage your time, then you keep regretting, oh, I could have, should have, would have. One of my mentors, Dr. O, is Donna O Maki. And I like to call her Dr. O. Dr. O always says, you don't want to live in the shoulda, coulda, woulda. Like, I should have done this. I could have done this. I would have done this. If you don't plan your time properly, then you really live in the world of woulda, shoulda, coulda. Of the things that you could have accomplished with your potential and all that. And one of the tricks actually to plan your time is to set goals. When you set goals in advance and the night before your day, like let's say for example tomorrow is Tuesday or Wednesday, tonight I will set my goals for the next week or for the next day. And you're sleeping, you're going to bed, your subconscious mind is already thinking about the goals that you need to achieve. When you wake up in the morning, you're not waking up aimlessly. You're not waking up wondering, oh my God, it's another day, what am I going to do? You're waking up strategically. You know exactly, okay, today I set up to myself, I'm going to accomplish A, B, C, D, and this, I'm starting with this. And once you accomplish that, that feeling will just push you, propel you to do more things or to achieve more things.
Oh, it's like an adrenaline rush.
Right.
It's keep pushing you. And this proper use of time, actually, it's also something that this book challenges me with. Because something that happens to me when I don't manage my time correctly, and it had happened a lot, is guilt working. I was talking to a friend and I was like, this past week I've been guilt working. Well, I do research. In research, our days are not very predictable. So you have to set goals and try to achieve them as much as you can.
Right.
And then when you set them and then you spend time doing something else that is not that, then
And that happens all the time.
of course. You start with, that's why I closed down all my social media for now. I'm gonna probably open them because we have to send the podcast out. But I closed my social media for the last 2 weeks. I haven't been on Twitter. I've partially been on Instagram just because of some of my work. And I closed my WhatsApp because you get on there, you're just looking at stories. I'm at work, I'm trying to focus on research. Somebody posts something interesting, a conversation
And you start discussion.
Yeah, I like the talk all the time, and I'm always available to talk. So it's something like that. And what would happen after I would be guilt working? And now I feel really horrible when I'm trying. I'm like, nah, I would never. So this was actually, it's kind of how fast things extrapolate when you start thinking about PhD. And when you don't manage your time correctly, you start thinking, okay, this experiment, I did not think about it a lot. I did not spend a lot of time with it. Okay, it's going to fail. And if it's going to fail, if it's failed for 1 week, that delay my graduation for a month. And okay, then I'm going to die doing this PhD. And you just start going up there. And then it pushes you to guilt working. And guess what? Guilt working doesn't really work. You don't achieve anything. I guilt worked the whole last week. And I didn't really
Achieve anything.
that I wanted. And it's very important that, you have to be looking into how you manage your time and therefore to achieve your goals.
And time management, the reality is that the only way you achieve goals is through the management of your time. There's a book, the title attracted me. I bought a copy that I'll be reading in the future. It says we all have 168 hours a week. What are you doing with those hours? Like if you take an inventory of your time, your hours, like let's say for the last 24 hours, what did you do with your time? Like if you take 24 hours, okay, let's say I'll give it to you. Like you slept for 8 hours. Let's take that. Okay, you work for 8 hours. Let's take that. So that's 16. You still have 8 hours left. What'd you do with that time? Okay, you ate and showered and did all that. We take 4 hours. Okay. Now you still have 4 hours left of your time. What did you do with it? Did you spend your the whole time scrolling through social media, as Adams mentioned about what's up, some of them all of us struggle with, all distraction. And you see, all these big tech companies, we talk about Facebook, we talk about Google, YouTube, WhatsApp, and all that. They want your time. They want your attention. And you have engineers working with psychologists, which is the biggest atomic bomb in the world that can ever be built. Engineers, psychologists, that's a bomb. They try to understand how does the brain work to keep your attention longer. And that's again the problem that comes in the picture when you don't have goals. And sometimes you need to set away all distractions. Adam did something great, quitting all social media. I personally haven't been on Facebook for a while, and it's just helped me regain control of my day. The truth is, either you run your day or your day runs you. You take your pick. Which one do you want to be? Do you want to be the person who is run by their day, controlled by every event that happened? Or do you want to be the person who runs their day? And that will lead us to the seventh pillar, which is to be a lifelong learner.
And that is very, very important.
And that goes along with the first pillar.
I think it goes along with almost
everything.
Because that's the whole point. That's the point of unbounded growth.
Right.
Because being a lifelong learner, that's what creates growth. And it's something you cannot really get from school.
And that's the point, because when you think about learning, a lot of people, when they think about learning, it's more about, do I need to go back to school? Yes, you can get a degree and stop learning. As a matter of fact, statistics have proved that a lot of people, more than 80% of graduate students, have never read a book after graduation. As soon as school is done, to them, it's like, hey, done deal. My time for reading is gone and now I have to earn money. The problem is when you don't keep on learning, you become stagnated. And I think an author, I can't remember who said it, but said that a lot of people, die at the age of 25 after college, and they wait until they're 70 to be buried. Think about it. Because from 25 to 70, they never learn anything else.
And that's the problem. There's a quote actually here that is very, very good. He said, formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. And I actually lived through that. I can share it here. I drive a Model 3 Tesla. And the story about being a PhD student driving a Tesla, of course, I have my company that is not as profitable at the moment yet.
Right.
But I do drive a Tesla. How did I get to driving a Tesla? I learned about the stock market. I put a lot of time on self-education, figuring out how to buy stocks, how to sell stocks. And it didn't take me forever. It didn't even take 6 months of learning. It took a couple months. I understood what to do and the basic things. And I understood that, okay, I don't want to do trading. I don't want to do day trading, but I want to buy stocks and have a lot of stocks or on something. Then the cryptocurrency industry as well became hot. I put some money in there. And just like magic, I learned how it works. I learned that, okay, I can hold, I can wait, I can be very patient with it. And in the end of the day, that learning process paid up. I had enough money to basically just get whatever it is that I wanted to get. And I decided to reward myself with a car. So it's really important when you continue learning. And that's why if you look at my CV, I keep on getting these degrees and people keep on complaining, like, how many more degrees are you going to get? I'm like, okay, it doesn't stop here. I can leave school, but as long as I'm in school, I'll get the degrees. But when I leave school, I keep learning.
The learning doesn't stop with school. As a matter of fact, I was telling you earlier the story of the professor who said, word I don't like using. I don't think anybody's an idiot. I think people make stupid decisions, but I don't think anybody's stupid. That's just my personal opinion. A lot of people don't share it, but that's okay. You don't have to agree with everybody. But the reality is that school exposes you to education, but school does not educate you. School helps you get a degree. Education is about you. It's about what you decide to learn. It's about the things that you expose yourself to. And one danger that I see a lot lately is that people are running after motivation instead of education. They want to feel pumped. They want to feel pushed. They're like, okay, I can do this. But let's say, for example, talk about the gym and you're wanting to lose weight. I don't care the amount of motivation that you get. It fades away at some point. But if you start understanding how your brain works, what motivates you, what pushes you to action, what makes you lazy, or what gives you more energy, then you spend more time understanding yourself, and motivation becomes a byproduct of education. As a matter of fact, Mr. Davis in the book says that if someone is going down the wrong path, he doesn't need motivation to speed him up. He needs education to turn him around. Learning is the beginning of wealth. You want to be wealthy? It's time to learn.
Absolutely.
It's time to understand how finances work. How does your brain work? What keeps you motivated? What keeps you learning? And even when you come to career change, you want to get to a point, one thing I never want to be in life, I don't ever want to be stuck. I don't even want to be stuck in a job. I can't get another job simply because the market is not good. Well, when the market is not good, some people still get hired. How do they achieve that? It's because they've worked on themselves more than they worked on their jobs. That the industry still needs them even when the market is not hot. The industry, like you think about someone like Dr. Phil. The average, back in 2015, the average salary of a psychologist with a bachelor degree was $25,000. $25,000 a year. You can get that just by getting any job. You're at McDonald's. If you get $13 an hour, that's enough to get $25,000 a year. And that's the average salary of a psychologist. But then you have psychologists like Dr. Phil. And you wonder, why do they make 10 times, 15, 100 times more than that? It's because they've become the best at what they do, that the industry has no other choice than to retain them. If you keep on learning, you keep on educating yourself, you become the best at your field. And the industry, it doesn't matter what industry it is, someone will need you.
And that also is linked to people who are actually still in school. One thing is, I tried this before. I used to be one of those people who would just I would try a lot of things in college. And when I was in college, one of the things that I tried is I learned in class. Usually I was the type of student who I didn't study a lot at home. I would challenge my professor, ask them a lot of questions, learn whatever I have to learn in class. And then, okay, after the exam come, I'll just go take the test and
move on with life.
And at a certain point, my grades were good enough that I didn't really care about what's the grade anymore. So this one day I was like, I'm going to just try an experiment. Exam 1, I won't be studying. I won't be doing anything on my own. I won't be doing any effort on myself. Just whatever I learn in class, I'll stop there. I got 85 on the exam. No studying. And okay, so 85, I come from a very, my education in my family is a big thing. My dad tells you that if you're getting a B, you are basically the number one loser. So like, if you're getting less than an A, he's like, you are a loser. You lost.
You're the first of the losers.
You're the first of the losers. So you kind of challenge yourself. So I'm like, I'm getting a B. It feels bad. But then I studied. And I'm passing with flying colors now. And you could tell that very difference when it comes to education itself. That's when you're putting in effort outside the classroom, outside the regular thing, outside the average thing that everyone else is doing, you can see how that is having a direct impact on your life.
And we jump to 9 and go back to 8. So the 9th pillar says income seldom exceeds personal development. And there is so much truth in this. I'll just give an example. Most people with no college degrees, their salary will range maybe from 20 to 30 grand a year. I'm talking about Texas. Adam and I live down in Texas. You're talking about 20 to 30, maybe 35. By adding one bachelor's degree, you moving from the 20s to the 40s, like straight up, simply by having a bachelor's degree. Of course, in certain fields, it doesn't apply to all the fields. And it's very rare in corporate America today that people who don't know a lot to earn a lot. Like I've seen top people in my companies. I've talked to VPs, I've talked to directors. There's always exceptions in that. I've talked to senior engineers. I'm a software engineer but that's what I got my undergrad in, and I work as a software engineer. And when I talk to senior engineers, I can definitely tell why they make more money than I do. Because they know their craft. They understand the company. And most of them, they are not just working at our job. They're not just coming 9 to 5 and they're done with work. They have side projects. They are always building up their skills. Whichever new language, programming language is out there, they know something about it. And if they don't know anything about it, they can learn it and learn it fast. And I realized, man, that's why they're always earning more. So the more you learn, at some point, the more you earn. It's just a reality. There's no way you can separate your income from your education, and that's personal development. So sometimes we ask ourselves, well, what can I do to earn more? The question I always ask myself and ask other people, if I was my own manager, would I give myself a raise? The way I behave at work, the way I'm doing my job, the way I'm researching things, if I was my personal own manager, would I give myself a raise? And I'm not talking about just a granted raise. I'm talking about a merit raise. Do I deserve a raise that I'm being given?
And that is very important when you talk about education directly related to income. And I kind of call that thing social revolution in America. When the Industrial Revolution started in 1870s, a lot of people in America thought that was it. That was the end, because a lot of people were working when the cotton gin machine came out, and then a lot of other industrial power started happening, and electricity came out, and so on.
Right.
Before that, people did everything by hand. It took a long time to actually just like pick the cotton and do all those things. And then a change or a switch happened, and people had to transition from there. And there is one thing that is important, and I also picked this from my political science class, is that we live in an American system where the system is designed for people to stay where they are.
Yep.
If you're poor, the system is well enough designed for you to stay poor.
And that's
giving
an example about that. You know, people who apply for WIC or food stamp, you have to stay below a certain income in order for you to qualify for that. So there's two ways you can feed your family or your babies, is either by staying below a certain income or by getting enough income that you don't need governmental help.
Even the way the zip code is set.
Right.
You go to apply for a house, they look at your income level. If you receive a certain income, they're like, no, you cannot stay in this neighborhood.
Right.
But you can go apply in another neighborhood for people around you within your same cluster. They have the same average income. Then you can be in that neighborhood. And that affects a lot on your life, on the way you're educated.
And I want you to go back to the idea about how the system is designed to keep you where you are.
That's how it works. The American system is designed where poor stay poor, because middle class stay middle class. And they need the middle class there because they're the one that it's the working class.
Yep.
It's the working class. So they try, the way education works in America, the way media works in America, is that the middle class, they call them the hardworking Americans. Hardworking Americans have to stay within that level. And then the upper class, even the middle class is kind of divided also into three classes, where there are lower middle classes, the middle class, and then there's the upper middle class, where engineers and doctors, they're up in the upper middle class. And then come the class of the rich people.
Yep.
And guess what's the difference between all of those level? It's something that I end up calling a social revolution. And the social revolution is not a revolution on the street. It's revolution by education.
Right.
You change your education. You add 1+. If it was a training, you add a training to that. If you had a bachelor degree and you need an extra training, you add the training. If you did not have a degree at all, you want to go to vocational school, you go to those schools. You go get a certificate. And after you get a certificate, you come from, $25,000 a year. Now you are $35,000 a year. And after that, you keep on growing. And of course, some people call you're going to reach some type of a plateau.
Right.
And that's where, again, education
becomes important.
Becomes very important. And that's going back to actually now seventh pillar. That's where it's actually kicking in big when you're trying to leave the middle class and become rich. That's where the lifelong learning becomes important. You learn how to invest.
Yeah.
You learn how to set a business. You learn how to research your own things. You learn how to create. And when you do that, America will reward you. There is no magic. It's how it works.
Exactly. And it's so important. I have a friend of mine, someone I consider, I really respect a lot. His name is Chris Morland. Chris Morland was the senior VP at a former company that I worked at. He was one of the fewest people of color in that position. I think the only one in that position. They had 5 or 6 of them, but he was the only one in that position. I got to meet Chris personally. He actually wrote a book that we'll also be reviewing in the future. Hopefully we can get him on the show and talk to him. Chris came to my church and was giving this presentation. And he said, it took me 50 years to earn my first $1 million. And a year later, he lost it all. And then he said, it took me less than a year to earn another $1 million. He said, why? Because I had learned how to do it. And that's the difference between something you inherit that is just given to you. You haven't worked for it. You haven't thought about it. You just get it. And something you've worked for. when you educate yourself, that's something that cannot be taken away from you. I mean, I don't care how people treat me or what they say about me. They won't take my degree away. It's there, it's mine, and it's mine for life, And that's the importance of educating yourself, because that knowledge that you earn or you gain, nobody in the world can ever take that away from you.
And that's really great. That brings us now to my favorite pillar, if I can say. And this has been the foundation, I can say, of a lot of things in my life.
It's actually one of the shortest pillar he talks about,
Yeah,
but there's just so much truth in it.
So much truth. He say everyone is a salesman.
That's
and
right.
he talked about two things that you can sell, that everyone has. He said talent and virtue. He said those two things, that the things that you can actually sell.
But when you think about it, we sell our talents to our job, and they pay us for the knowledge we bring.
Absolutely. And that's what it is. Is that he said one thing. He said one key to having influence with others is to have others perceive you as a person of talent and virtue. You see that in research. My field, that's what it is. We are not out there being the biggest millionaires. We are not satisfied by how much money we are making.
Right.
If I needed a lot of money, I would just stop by my master's degree. I had a great job. I could just continue that path. But what now pushes us above just getting a job and making money is that's other thing we can sell, and that's the talent and the virtue that we are bringing through research. And when we bring that to other people, then they buy it. And when they buy it, in exchange, they give you recognition.
Right.
You gain influence. And that's how you build a career as a researcher. There's nothing else. All the grants you will receive, anything you will get in life, you get recognition from how people are perceiving you based on your talent and your virtue. That's why one of the biggest things a researcher can get is a Nobel Prize in medicine or physics or chemistry. Why? Because you have shown talent and virtue. You have sold that. And then that's actually what other people perceive. And that's why, to me, it's very important. And I also got a lot from here. When I talk to my little brother, I talk to anybody, after studying all these things in the book, I started telling them, start watching out on how you introduce yourself to people.
It's important, because even talking about interviews, a job, the reason why one person gets more money in a job interview than the other person is what they're selling.
Yeah.
You can have all the great skills in the world, but if you don't know how to talk about those skills or to show those skills to the people, sometimes you need to talk about them, sometimes you need to show them. If you can't do that, it determines a lot about what you get as your initial salary or things of that nature.
And something that I want to remove out of the minds of people is the misconception. There's a fine line between selling yourself and bragging.
There's a
very, very two different things.
Exactly.
You brag about something that you probably don't have. When you are talking about something you've accomplished and something that you can accomplish again and over again, you are not bragging. You are literally just introducing yourself. A lot of people hear people saying that, this person is only interested about what I have and so. What you have says a lot about who you are.
That's true.
So you'll be like, like I have a girl and a lot of girls, if like guys be saying like a lot of girls are materialistic today. They won't love you for who you are. They will love you for what you have. I am telling you frankly that what you have, what you can offer has a lot to do with who you are. It defines, in fact, who you are as a person, like what you have. And it's, to me, it is very important. That's why this is my personal favorite pillar, because selling yourself out there, and today is actually with the power of social media. My company, and we'll talk about it more, my company grew from there, grew from me having $0 in the bank account, but only I had just graduated from college, no money. All I had to sell was myself out there and my vision. And people believed in it. And now we are growing. We have employees. We have people working. Okay, as long as Adam is there, the vision is there. And now I instill those vision in each one of them, and they create their own from my main vision. And the company keep growing like that. And if there's one thing I insist on a lot when I'm introducing somebody or when I'm asking somebody to introduce themselves and they start with a weak term, it doesn't sit well with me. I tell them, no, you're an engineer. Okay, bring out, lay out 3 of your top accomplishments that people can actually remember you by. When they go, oh yeah, I attended a talk by the CEO of Bora Technology. That's how it works.
Right.
Or, okay, I mentored this young man, and one day I asked him to introduce himself to a group of engineers that work for us. And he started that, oh yeah, this is who I am. I'm a student. I'm doing 1, 2, 3 things in college. I'm mechanical engineering. And that's pretty much all he said. And I was like, okay, let me rephrase that. I say, that young man, he just finished his internship at NASA. He worked alongside people who are putting rovers
Over Mars.
on Mars. That's who he is. It's not just what he is. He might be thinking about that's why he is, but that's who he is. A person who is putting people on Mars. That's who he is. So when the person gonna remember for the second time, they will go with the idea of, I met somebody who is putting people on Mars.
And I think that's where that fine line comes in, where people are afraid to sell themselves because they think that they are bragging. Especially like for us coming from a country of colonialism, they taught us that humility is not talking about yourself or looking low at yourself. I don't think that's humility. Humility, I like this quote that says that humility is not thinking less of yourself. Wait, I can't remember how it goes. It says humility. It goes, well, when I remember
I think in French there's a quote that say that a humility that is bringing itself to a level where it should be worship. It's a pride in secret. So basically, when you are trying to be humble, you're actually being prideful.
Right. I think I found it. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself less. Now, that's very important because a prideful person has all their brain filled with themselves. It's just like, oh, it's all about me and I do all these great things. But a humble person doesn't think less of themselves, but they think a little bit less about themselves all the time. And that's very crucial about the sales, because life is sale. All life is sales.
Absolutely.
And what you sell out there says a lot about you. And it brings us to the 10th pillar, which is the second of the last 2, is that all communication brings common ground to understanding. All communication brings common ground to understanding. And this quote, I like how he introduces it. It says, communication is 2 or more people working together to find a common ground understanding. And when they find that common ground, they position themselves to have tremendous power together. Now, here's where it comes again with selling yourself. In a way, communicating yourselves in a way that should not bring pride out of it. Because if you communicate the wrong way, you are sending the wrong message. For example, if you're going to a job, I remember one time I was writing this essay, and they were teaching us about how to think, to talk about ourselves, to talk about our achievement. And I remember writing this thing in my essay, and I said, I'm the type of student that the University of Texas at Arlington is lucky to have. And my professor told me, okay, we don't want you to go that far yet. I had so much confidence in myself, and I don't think I was really thinking about the impact of my words back then. But communication is learning how to, is the only way that we get along with people, is how we communicate with them. Major countries are in wars today because they fail to communicate in a certain way that satisfied both parties. And you'll be surprised how many negotiators get paid simply because they can bring people to a table of negotiation and communicate in a language that both parties can understand. And communication is what opens or closes some doors for you. And if you can't communicate, you can't sell your ideas. You can't sell yourself. You can't buy something that you really need simply because you do not know how to communicate. And if there's anything, I know some people hate public speaking. They hate being in front of people. The idea of public speaking freaks them out. Simply because you're not good at it doesn't mean you cannot learn. Simply because you've never done it before doesn't mean you cannot learn how it's done. And there are tons and hundreds of books written on communication. I think that's a skill everybody should aspire to improve.
Absolutely. Communication is very important, and especially in the workplace. The people you're working with, the type of leadership you develop among those people is crucial. Communication is crucial to leadership. And there's a few challenging things. We have worked with people within our company. We've worked with someone who, the way they communicate is just no good for the environment of the company, because they will communicate something. First of all, they will monopolize the word.
Which brings to this interesting quote they say, and I'll catch up on the idea. Say communication isn't just what you say. It's also how you say it, when you say it, and the receptiveness of who you say it to. And that's just half of it.
Absolutely. And that's how it works. You are there, you are lecturing everybody. And when you have influence and you feel, and I think we're going to review the 5 levels of leadership. And when you have the influence, so you're a level 1 leader, you have the title,
the position.
Everyone is prone to listen to you, whatever. And then after that, you are not getting any feedback because they all go and just accept whatever it is that you are selling or you are telling them. And now you are not communicating.
Pretty much dictatorship.
Yeah, it's dictatorship. You are imposing something, and that's not communication. Communication goes 2 ways. You are giving and you are receiving. That is what communication is.
And the other half of talking and the way people are receiving your information and the way people are taking what you're saying is just one part of the communication. The most important part of communication that we all miss is listening.
Absolutely.
Listening is pretty much communicating, because we live in a world today where people are more interested in being right than in finding solutions. They don't pretty much care about what I'm saying. Does it make sense? Does it help us move forward? And that's why so many marriages are in jeopardy today or in trouble, simply because everybody wants to be right. And as a matter of fact, one communicator said that in most of what we do today, we just keep quiet until it's our turn to speak. But we're not communicating. We're not even listening to what the other person is saying. I'm just staying quiet for as long as I can until it's my turn to speak. Then, of course, I'll wing it and bring it in, and so you can hear what I have to say, but I'm not paying any attention to what you're saying. And if you want to develop any relationship, if you want to grow your influence, which of course ties again to the 11th pillar, which is the world can always use one more great leader. if you want to develop your leadership, you can't do it without communicating with people. And communication comes in so many ways. Sometimes there's this silent communication. I can be with you here, Adam, my wife, and I'll in the house, and I can look at my wife, Plamedy. Just by looking at her, she knows I need something, or she knows I'm telling her something without saying a word. And that's the power of communication. But then, good communication brings influence.
A lot of influence.
And leadership is
Absolutely.
influence.
And that's the point of communication. That's the point where in the workspace, in the environment, when you're talking to other people, what you're telling them, the way you're interacting with them, that goes what you're saying and what you're hearing. And I think we're also gonna review that book on Asking Powerful Question. He talks extensively
On how to create conversations
that matters.
Yeah.
How to listen. He says that we listen to about 400 words per minute, but we can only talk for like about 100 words.
So
less.
100, at most 150.
150 words
Yeah.
per minute. So, and it is very important how you communicate and how you lead. Because if you are there and all you do is giving orders and everybody else has to follow, then you are not really being a good leader.
No.
Because leadership, as he put it here, he said to lead others is to help them change their thoughts, beliefs, and actions for the better. Something important on that, and that's hit me a lot on this particular pillar, is change in beliefs. I used to think, and it's something very, very hard to do, very, very hard to do, changing somebody's beliefs. Because I believe that the human, we are like onion. On the top, the little leaves that are falling, those are opinions. And somewhere in the middle are our values, and at the core
Is who we are.
is the belief. And it's easy for you to peel the opinion of somebody off. You can discuss with somebody, you can show them a fact, that's it. And it becomes even hard
To peel the value.
for you to get the values of someone, to unroot the value. Education does that. When you put somebody through a serious education, their values start changing. But their beliefs, what they've grown up knowing and observing, those are very hard to change.
Right.
And the only way you can have enough influence to change that is if you are a leader, if you can communicate, if you can hear them out. That's why a lot of pastors are successful in their churches.
Right.
Great pastors, they are great communicators. They are strong leaders in such a way that, they have that power.
Even pastors and politicians.
Politicians,
Leaders
too.
of opinions.
Absolutely.
They literally lead people to believe certain opinion and to trust them. Listen, I may disagree with a lot of leaders out there, but I know a lot of leaders that have so much influence on people that we push them to action. Even when you sit back and you think to yourself, how did this person behave this way? It's because of the type of influence that leaders had on them.
Absolutely. And the world can always use one more great leader. It's important.
And the goal is not to be a terrible leader. You don't want to be a Hitler type of leader or, a dictator type of leader. You don't be the type of leader that change people for the better, that push people beyond their own limits to believe in themselves. And one quote it says here that really interests me. It says that the challenge of leadership is to be strong, but not rude, to be kind, but not weak, to be bold, but not a bully, to be thoughtful, but not lazy, to be humble, but not timid, to be proud, but not arrogant, to have humor without folly. And when you think about all those attributes that it talks about, and that's the biggest challenge about being a big leader or a great leader, about being a leader that help people to achieve what they did not think they could achieve on their own. And the last pillar.
Yeah, this I think he put it last because I feel like it's the most important pillar
It
of
is.
all of them, and that is leave a legacy. Everything we had just talked about come down to, okay, now you know all of this. Are you going to keep it to yourself? Or are you going to spread the word? Are you going to leave it to the next person that is coming? And he said live a life that will help others spiritually, intellectually, physically, financially, and relationally. Live a life that serves as an example of what an exceptional life can look like. Or the footsteps that you're walking in, whenever you leave this earth, or whenever you leave a room, I can go as small as that. You spent an hour with somebody, 2 hours with someone. Wherever you leave the room, because tomorrow is not guaranteed.
No.
Meeting next is not guaranteed. We only have now, and we only have today. And he said one thing, he said, you cannot choose how long you will live. He's telling Mr. Davis is telling Michael. He said, you cannot choose how long you will live, Michael, but you can choose how well you will live. And it is very important, the legacy, the footprint that we are leaving, that other people can put their shoes on and they can follow the same path, and that can lead them to success.
And you know, this chapter in particular is very dear to me. Well, the reason why we didn't hear our first episode when we planned to hear it, the weekend that we were planning to record it, I had the terrible news of that I lost my dad, Frank Muteba. He passed suddenly, something that we didn't see coming. The reason why this chapter is very kind of dear to my heart and sometimes gets me emotional every time I get to this point. The day I got the news that Dad passed away was the day I was reading this chapter. And I was reading the letter of Mr. Davis to his mentee, Michael. And I read that statement where it says, you cannot choose how long you will live, but you can only choose how well you will live. Because death became a little bit more real to me when I heard about Dad's passing. It's something we didn't expect. It's something that just happened. And I started thinking a lot about life when I was not able to travel back home for his funerals. I stayed at home and I started listening to testimonies and what people were saying about Dad. And I realized that he had lived a life and left a great legacy. All the memories that people have of him is that he's a man that always sought peace with others. He's a man that wanted to help the whole world. He's a man that wanted to be there when people needed him. He's a man that was always there, and the way he cared for people, the way he supported the education of people back home, the way he helped people achieve their personal goal, it kind of started making me think a lot about my life. A legacy is not something you leave as soon as you die. People won't just remember you after you die simply because the last 2 days of your life you did A, B, C, D. It's a whole journey. It's a whole life. I heard people talking about that and talking about stories about what he did for them 30 years ago, setting them on the right path, becoming the people they are today. And the whole time I was listening to those testimonies, my eyes were filled with tears and just looking at the impact he had in my life. Among the things, I struggled a lot with school, in high school especially. I couldn't focus. I was always gone. I was always doing something. When I came here, the distractions started hitting me hard, sometimes social media, sometimes, just spending a lot of time on YouTube than I need to, trying to learn and then being distracted with all these debates sometimes that do not end. And one time, I asked Dad, he was here, I asked him, I was like, Dad, how do you focus What is it that you do to stay focused? That could easily work from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. It could easily work from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. without standing up and staying focused, locked in his task. And asked that, how did you do that? He told me one thing. It's probably one of the biggest legacy about him that I will always forget, cherish my whole life. And I will love my son who's named after him to learn about it. He said, the love of a work well done. When you love having a work well done, you invest the time that you need to invest in it to accomplish that. And I dearly miss my father. I know he's gone but not forgotten. He's not yet to be forgotten. But then I look at the type of memories people have of him. It gives me hope. It gives me joy. But it also pushes me to live my life differently. Here's the reality. I don't know what you believe in. Some people believe in evolution. Some people believe are Christians. Some people are not. I'm a Christian. We believe that the Lord Jesus will come back to rapture the church and all that, even if rapture itself in us is not in the Bible and all that. But the word itself, rapture, is not in the Bible, but just that a description. Okay, I believe in that. Even if you don't believe in that, at some point death comes. And when death comes, the question is, what would people remember of you and I? When we're no longer here, when people talk about us, of course at funerals, people always say great things about people, but when they talk in private, sometimes they don't say those great things about them. What will people remember about you?
And that's a really big point. Papa Frank Muteba worked with my dad, but I did not spend time with him, or I did not have a personal direct relationship, if I can say, with him. I was hoping that last time he was here, I could meet him, but it happened that he had left before I had a chance to actually meet him. But that specific quote, after I heard it from Marc Alain, we were just having a conversation about Papa Frank. And Marc Alain quoted him saying, the love of a work well done. That to me set a vision on my mind. I started having pictures of how I want things to look like. Before I heard that, even in my PhD, even in all my work, and especially my PhD, because I was thinking to myself, well, PhD, okay, it's a degree. Mm-hmm. It's cool.
That's what it is.
And after I'm done with this, my career gonna start. That's what's gonna really define a lot of my things.
Right.
So PhD, I can just get by. I used to tell that to myself. In fact, I would say, okay, at the end of the day, yeah, it's PhD. It's not 100% me. I'm probably not the person gonna shine and all those things. So I can just get by, do the minimum that I'm supposed to do enough to defend the dissertation and leave. But then when I started thinking about that legacy of the love of a work well done, it started putting a different picture of what I want to accomplish. I started actually seeing, and that is a huge thing for researchers, when you can actually see how you want your final result to look like. And then at that time, you put your energy, you put your effort, you put all your strength in accomplishing that exact, what you have in your mind. You will spend hours and hours, and you won't even struggle for focus. Usually, like lately, it's been happening to me a lot. I will come, like during the last few days, during the day, I wouldn't be feeling myself well. So I'll go home and sleep. And then when I come back at night to work, I have a picture that I'm trying to accomplish. I ask for different people's opinion, but I'll get, maybe it's getting closer to what I want. And then I can see, okay, I want this picture to look exactly like this. And I was blessed also with my boss, my advisor. She is really amazing when it comes to details. And when I send it to her, she can also envision or stay within the vision that I have of a picture of something that is well done, to a point where when you are presenting something, when I'm showing something, even if I don't have the best result possible, but just the presentation of my result show that this person has put in enough time and enough efforts and enough imagination in whatever it is that they are trying to achieve or they are trying to build. And that is something that I will forever remember from Papa Frank Muteba's life, of everything he had accomplished, all the people he has helped. I can also add myself to his legacy. And that is a great thing coming to closing this book, is at the end of your life, what will be said about you? Because death is the most certain thing that is out there.
Yep.
And when you go...
Death and taxes.
Yeah, death and taxes. And think about it. Just think about it in this perspective. And it doesn't matter what's your age. The kids in New Valley, they were merely kids with dreams and plans and things.
And a whole life.
And the whole life ahead of them. Now, think about yourself. Think about what you're doing right now. Just at this moment, what you've done this week. What is it that people could remember you by if you had to pass? And that is important. That is the legacy. I'm not talking about $1 billion you're going to leave to anybody or a whole fortune you're going to leave to people. But just the type of life you have lived. Are you helping other people?
Right.
Are you being a positive asset to their life and their personal growth?
And I'll go back to the saying that you gave before, the African saying that when you pass, it's not your research that's going to bury you. It's not your money that's going to bury you. It's the people. The people, the people, the people. How are we treating other human beings? How are we treating our fellow human beings? And you know, death doesn't send an invitation. It comes when it comes. It comes if he wants to come. It comes how it comes. It doesn't matter how it comes. The truth is, it does come.
And that will be bringing us to closing this part. It's been 2 hours, and thank you so much for tuning in, for listening to us for all this long. If you've reached the end of this podcast,
you definitely deserve a prize.
Yeah, you do deserve a prize, because it's the first one we are recording. It's long, of course. And we wanted to share our whole heart with you. We wanted to invest in you as well, leave you with this legacy. This is something that will stay for years, for generation to come. The next generation will hear about these things that we are talking about. And you can support us. You can help us. We have an Instagram page that is open. It's called Unbounded Growth. On Instagram, you can always follow Unbounded Growth on Instagram. You can like a lot of things we post on there. We post quotes about the books that we are reading. We post snippets and small videos, short videos about this podcast. You can find it there. And you can find a lot of great content that you can share. Even sharing is leaving a legacy. We are sharing the books and the experiences that you have had reading or dealing with these books. We are leaving a legacy. But you can also share the contents of our page as a legacy to whoever it is that is following you.
And we definitely encourage you to like, share. We on Google Podcasts, we on Apple Podcasts, we We are on Spotify if you want to find us. Whatever platform or podcast whatever platform you use to listen to your podcast. If we're not on there yet, let us know. We do our very best to be on there. We definitely want to express our gratitude for you tuning in, staying with us till the end. You may have seen some of the page, they say you can donate to our podcast, and sometimes you wonder, where does my money go? Now, here's where your money goes mainly. Most of our donations are going to fund the educations of children in the Congo, primarily. Eventually, in the future, when we have more money coming in, we also like to start sponsoring a few scholarships here in the United States. With Borough Technology, we have a PhD, a scholarship program. It's called Borough Scholars. And a lot of the money that we be getting here, we also be helping to build schools in the Congo, to build labs labs in the Congo. And I'm so used to saying labs that I can't even remember the full word anymore. And to also support the educations of people out there. And some of it will also come back to us to help us build the studio, to get more material as we acquire them. We are also on YouTube, so part of what we're doing we also be posted on YouTube. Sometimes if you just want to see what we look like, our videos in the future, of course, we'll be posting that on YouTube. If you have any question, any comment, please do not hesitate. If you have a book that you would like us to review, do not hesitate to reach out to us. Or also, if you would like to be part of our podcast, to participate with us and talk about some books, do not hesitate to reach out to us and we contact you back. Thank you so much for having stayed with us, and until next Tuesday, have a wonderful one, and God bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye.